President Sisi emphasizes establishing an independent Palestinian state is the path towards achieving genuine peace in the Middle East. Delegations taking part in Gaza ceasefire talks arrive in Egypt's Sharm el-Sheikh. And Egypt values its full cooperation with UNESCO in all fields. You're watching Q News. I'm Henny Saif, and these are the news in Egypt. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi marked October 6th as a proud historic day, honoring the 1973 victory and the army's enduring duty to defend Egypt. Marking October 6th as a proud historic day, al-Sisi praised Egypt's armed forces and assured Egyptians of their unwavering commitment to defend the country. He paid tribute to late President Anwar al-Sadat for his courageous leadership towards peace. He said lasting Middle East peace requires a Palestinian state grounded in international legitimacy and justice. He called for a Gaza ceasefire, the return of detainees, reconstruction, and a political process to statehood. He warned peace imposed by force breeds resentment, while fair peace enables genuine normalization and coexistence. The Egyptian president reaffirmed the armed forces' unwavering commitment to defend the nation and protect its borders.
شعب مصر العظيم وفي ختام كلمتي أطمئنكم أن جيش مصر قائم على رسالته في حماية بلدي والحفاظ على حدودها ولا يهاب التحديات. جيش وطني من صلب هذا الشعب العظيم وأبناؤه يحملون أرواحهم على أكفهم ويقفون كالسد المنيع أمام كل الصعاب والتهديدات.
Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has emphasized that the true peace in the Middle East hinges on establishing an independent Palestinian state in line with international legitimacy and restoring the rights of its people. Marking the 52nd anniversary of the October War victories, President al-Sisi highlighted that a ceasefire, the return of detainees, and Gaza's reconstruction and a peaceful political process towards Palestinian statehood are essential steps towards lasting peace and stability in the region. First Lady Mrs. Intisar al-Sisi has extended her heartfelt greetings and appreciation to the Egyptian armed forces on the occasion of the 52nd anniversary of the October War victories. In a post on her official Facebook page, Egypt's First Lady Intisar al-Sisi expressed her deep appreciation for the sacrifices made by the country's martyrs and the heroism of the armed forces on the anniversary of the October victories. She emphasized that the spirit of October, marked by sacrifice and patriotism, serves as a source of inspiration. She highlighted the importance of passing these values on to future generations, ensuring that the nation remains a strong and resilient fortress, empowered by the determination of its youth and the will of its people. As Egypt marks the 52nd anniversary of the glorious October victory, the armed forces have reopened all military museums to the public free of charge today. The initiative aims to boost national and military awareness, commemorating the heroism of Egyptian soldiers during the 1973 war. The victory, which saw Egyptian forces reclaim Sinai after crossing the Suez Canal, remains a symbol of national pride and resilience. There are days that define a nation, and October 6th is one of those days. On that day, Egypt turned the tide of history across the waters of the Suez. Courage moved as one. Engineering brilliance tore down walls of sand and myth. And an army carried a nation's dignity step by step onto the eastern bank. The impossible fell, the balance shifted, and Egypt's voice returned, strong, proud, and unyielding. This is the story of how planning met purpose, how patience became power, and how Operation Badr transformed defeat into determination and determination into victory.
نجحت قواتنا المسلحة في عبور قناة السويس على طول مواجهتها. بسم الله الله أكبر بسم الله بسم الله بسم الله أسلم مخطط بسم الله بسم الله.
This is the day Egypt's heartbeat grew louder than the roar of war. On the 6th of October, bravery rode across the canal. Resilience bridged water and fire, and a disciplined army carried a nation's hope on its shoulders. What was called impossible became inevitable. The line was broken, the spirit unbroken, and Egypt's confidence restored by men who trained for the hardest hour and met it. For years after the War of Attrition, Egypt rebuilt quietly and methodically. The objective was clear and realistic. Cross the canal, hold firm under an air defense umbrella, and impose new facts that would change the balance at the negotiating table. At the appointed hour, the opening airstrike hit pre-selected targets, and a precise artillery preparation, timed to the second, tore gaps in enemy defenses. Under that cover, assault units moved to the East Bank, while engineers began one of the most ingenious operations of the century, breaching the massive sand ramparts of the Barlave Line with high-pressure water jets, carving lanes for armor and vehicles in record time. Within hours, pontoon bridges spanned the water, and Egyptian flags rose over positions once deemed unassailable. This was a battle of minds as much as courage. The plan, known as Operation Badr, combined tactic, surprise, and orchestration across land, air, and air defense. Infantry advanced in waves. Tank hunter teams armed with guided missiles, and RPGs blunted counterattacks in the dunes. The surface-to-air missile network pushed opposing aircraft higher and farther, shielding the bridgeheads and giving our soldiers the space to fight and hold. Commanders at every level relied on training, timing, and trust, turning hard lessons into disciplined execution. The cost was real. lives were lost, and many families still carry the memory, but the crossing broke a myth of invincibility and restored Egypt's strategic voice. From that day flowed a new phase: disengagement agreements, painstaking diplomacy, and step by step the return of land. October proved that strength is not only a function of weapons, but of purpose, logistics, and leadership, and of soldiers who know why they fight. The legacy of the 6th of October endures because it speaks to enduring truths. Victory is not a slogan. It is preparation measured in drills and hours. Tactics matter. Bridging under fire, synchronizing arms, protecting the force with air defense, and holding ground against repeated blows. Character matters too. The resilience to cross under shelling, to stabilize a line, to care for a wounded comrade, and still complete the mission. On this anniversary, Egypt salutes the men who planned, the units that crossed, the crews that fought in steel and sand, the airmen who flew into danger, the engineers who opened the canal, and the medics who saved lives under fire. We honor the martyrs whose sacrifice gave the nation a way forward. The lesson they left is simple and eternal. When Egypt decides, it endures. When its army is called, it delivers. October is our reminder that dignity is defended by readiness, unity, and courage, and that with those, a nation can cross any barrier and reclaim its future.
لقد علمتنا ملحمة أكتوبر أن النصر لا يمنح بل ينتزع، وأن التخطيط المحكم والعمل المخلص الدؤوب والتنسيق بين مؤسسات الدولة وتماسك الجبهة الداخلية واليقين بنصر الله هي مفاتيح النصر والمجد.
Egyptian sources stated that delegations involved in Gaza ceasefire negotiations have arrived in Egypt's Sharm el-Sheikh, where indirect talks between Palestinian and Israeli delegations have now begun. The discussions aim to create conditions on the ground for a potential detainee exchange. Egyptian and Qatari mediators are working with both sides to develop a framework for the release of all detainees. The Egyptian sources added that Egyptian and Qatari mediators are exerting efforts with both sides to establish a mechanism for the release of all Israeli detainees in exchange for Palestinian detainees. That comes as Egypt is hosting a new round of consultations aimed at advancing a ceasefire in Gaza and activating the detainee exchange process following U.S. President Donald Trump's peace proposal. Egypt's Dr. Khalid Al-Anani, former Tourism and Antiquities Minister, competes for UNESCO Director General from 2025 to 29 against Congo's Fermin Eduardo Matoko. Al-Anani, an Egyptologist with a PhD from France, aims to bring Egypt and the Arab-African region to the agency's top post following previous Egyptian bids. If successful, he will become the first Egyptian to hold the position, following in the footsteps of UNESCO's current leader, Audrey Azoulay, who has served since 2017.
Je préfère soutenir l'hôtel, mais qu'il n'ouvre pas.
Speaking before the executive board of UNESCO, Egyptian Foreign Minister Badr Abdulati has reaffirmed Egypt's strong partnership with the organization across all fields. Abdulati highlighted that Egypt nominated Dr. Khalid Al-Anani for Director General, citing his distinguished qualifications and comprehensive vision to enhance UNESCO's role in promoting peace and international security. The Egyptian Foreign Minister also announced Egypt's upcoming inauguration of the Grand Egyptian Museum, a global gift showcasing the richness of Egyptian civilization. Egypt's Foreign Minister Badr Abdulati has met with Romania's permanent delegate to UNESCO and President of the General Conference. During his visit to Paris for UNESCO's Executive Board meetings and Egypt's campaign for Director General, he expressed Egypt's appreciation for Romania's efforts in supporting UNESCO's goals and praised the strong bilateral ties and coordination between the two countries. Abdulati also outlined Egyptian nominee Dr. Khalid Al-Anani's vision for strengthening UNESCO's role in education, culture, and heritage preservation, emphasizing Egypt's commitment to deeper cooperation with Romania. Egypt's Foreign Minister Badr Abdulati has met with the President of the Executive Board, Vera Khouri. Abdulati praised the strong cooperation between Egypt and UNESCO across key areas, including education, digital transformation, and the advancement of technical and vocational training, sectors where Egypt has made notable progress to meet labor market needs and promote sustainable development. Abdulati also commended the board's crucial role in guiding and monitoring UNESCO's mandates to foster peace, culture, and creativity worldwide. On the sidelines of UNESCO's Executive Board meetings in Paris, Egypt's Foreign Minister Badr Abdulati has met with China's permanent representative to UNESCO, who currently chairs the Asia-Pacific Group. Abdulati praised China's leadership in promoting the shared interests of Global South nations within the organization and its active role in supporting multilateral cooperation. He also highlighted the distinguished qualifications and extensive experience of Egypt's candidate, Dr. Khalid Al-Anani, emphasizing his ambitious vision to strengthen UNESCO's role and advance its global educational and cultural mission. The Egyptian Cabinet's committee has approved the legalization of 160 churches and affiliated buildings, bringing the total legalized since 2017 to 3,621. The decision was made during a meeting chaired by Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli with senior ministers and officials present. The committee reviewed recent assessments of submitted requests and followed up on previously approved sites, reaffirming its commitment to complete legalization processes. And for some analysis on the victory of the 1973 war, we're joined over the phone from Cairo by the consultant at Egypt's Command and Staff College, Major General Osama Mahmoud Kabir. Sir, welcome to Q News. 52 years on, what does the October 1973 war still mean for Egypt's national identity, and how did it reshape the country's position in the region and the world?
Yes, how are you? And good evening for everyone. The thing in here is that this war actually could address two main points from my perspective, at least. First of all, that this war actually had rebuilt the bond and the relation of trust and confidence in between the Egyptian nation and the armed forces after what happened in 1967. So through these 6 years that the nation actually consolidated around the armed forces and said, yes, you can do it and you need to do it. And what happened in 1973 was the prize for the nation achieved by the armed forces. It was an astonishing strategic military action against the enemy on the east bank of Canal Suez. And we achieved our goals, actually 16% of them at least, in the very first 6 hours of the first day. That's number one. Number two, if we move to the regional and the strategic community circle, actually, that would say that Egypt has reshaped itself, its character, as a country, strong country, standing tall, proudly in the region and in the international community, saying, "Here I am once again." We did it, and we could impose our leverage on the enemy. So we regained our occupied land, and now we are going for the diplomacy. So 6 years after the war, actually, they went for the 1997 Camp David Agreement, which is could be defined the last break in this pyramid, because that's a great trend also for the Egyptian diplomacy, because of this peace, we could keep up the momentum of development in the country for 52 years, and we could keep this orchestrated circle of integration in between the nation and the other sectors and ministers and the armed forces
Yes.
in Egypt. So it's locally and it's nationally and it's militarily from all the points that wouldn't have enough time to talk about for October. But
Yes.
hopefully I could answer the question for that.
Yes. Well, Major General Kabir, now, earlier President Sisi said that the October war proved that victory is not granted, it is seized. Now, how did that spirit shape Egypt's political will then, and how can it inspire future generations now?
Yeah, it's it's seized, of course. It is captured strongly, because through the 6 years in between the 1976, 67, and 1973, the armed forces have taken burden that to rebuild quickly and to improve and the military of Egypt and start like making the good planning, strategic planning. All this was distinctive and was very professional, and so it was seized totally. And this is actually, by the way, I'd like to address that it's been like they teach this in the Western and Eastern university and military schools. I've been there on these times and I saw all these books. And actually, this for October been mentioned like too many times. First of all, the generation now is you're speaking about the next generation, right? Or the nation
Yes.
of the
Yes.
meantime and the future generation. Exactly. You need to socialize this. You need to still have the legacy and the spirit and the inspiration and the essence of 4th of October through the media, the social media, through the schools, the colleges, sessions. We need to spread it out and to make sure that there is a contribution about everything happening in October and what before October and what after October, actually. That could be like it's a social awareness, social acknowledgement. And actually, the country is doing this. But maybe we need to enlarge the scale of this awareness, acknowledgement for the generations, because they need to see what's happening in the surrounding and neighboring countries. When there is no unity, there is no a sort of harmony in between the ethnicity in one nation. So how could be happen? Like, look what's happening in Libya, look what's happening in Sudan, in Syria itself. Actually the action in between Fatah and
Yes.
Hamas that led to this disaster we are in now. So in between the lines from the political command, we can read here what's exactly to be highlighted. It's your unity, you people. It's your unity that would keep up the momentum of this sustainability of this development,
Yes.
that the country
Well,
in peace.
Well,
Yes.
speaking, sir, about what's happening around the region now, how do you see Egypt's military today continuing the legacy of October, not just by defending Egypt's borders, but by contributing to regional stability?
Exactly. In one sentence, before I describe that, Egypt's military today is an Ots prime. It's an Ots prime because, like we have a strong army, competent enough, strong enough, professional enough to conduct its mission whenever or whatever it is. That's first of all. We are in the club of the 15 first military all over the globe, according to the Association of Global Firepower. And that's all. We are professional. We know how to fight a war. And secondly, we are conducting like too many international trainings, strategic military trainings. And if you could observe that, what happened something like a month ago, the Bright Star operation training or training in here in Egypt within like 30 or 45 countries, including this. For Egypt, yeah, we can defend our borders very well, and everyone else, all the neighbors, they know how strong and how competent enough the Egyptian army is. Secondly, how does it affect actually the region? I mean, we take part also in some operations happening like in the resort, the Hope Resolution or something in Yemen. Yes, we have part there. If anybody would leave us, I mean, according to the studies and the plans being like to be showed to the headquarters of the Egyptian armed forces, yes, we can take part in that. However, the Egyptian army is for Egypt, and whatever happens else, according to some agreements or some coalitions, if we sign on that, yes, we can take part in that too.
Yes.
The most role play that Egypt's taking nowadays is diplomatic play. We are the substantial and major arbitrator within this ceasefire agreement.
Yes.
What happened in Gaza since
Definitely.
couple months. Yes.
Major General Osama Mahmoud Kabir from Cairo, the consultant at Egypt's Command and Staff College. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us here on Q News. These were the Egyptian news we have for now, but here's a quick recap of today's top Egyptian stories. President Sisi emphasizes that establishing an independent Palestinian state is the path towards achieving genuine peace in the Middle East. Delegations taking part in Gaza ceasefire talks arrive in Egypt's Sharm el-Sheikh. And Egypt values its full cooperation with UNESCO in all fields. That's all for the Egyptian News Bulletin for now, but please remember to stay updated by following Q News for the latest updates. I'm Henny Saif. Thank you for joining us.